It's really important that I give you a little history because I never thought I would be the opening keynote at the EOS Conference telling my EOS story. And so the history is this. I think this is the 9th EOS Conference, and every year we kick off the conference with an EOS client story. And so we determined very early on it would be very valuable so you could see a client and how they run on EOS. In the first few years, they were clients of mine, so I was so proud to sit in the audience and just watch them shine. Now, I never thought I would be the EOS story. And so Kelly wanted me to do this. And I didn't want to do it. She scheduled a Zoom call, and Kelly and Victoria, who runs the programming for the conference, got me on a Zoom call. And coming into the Zoom call, I knew exactly what they were trying to do. And I went into this Zoom call like this. No, I'm not gonna. And my inner 7-year-old was coming out, and I was convinced I was going to convince them that I'm not going to tell my EOS story. We got on the Zoom call, and 30 minutes later, after a very passionate plea from Kelly, I said, "You got me. I'm in." And so here I am about to deliver my EOS story. And I want you to understand why I said no, why I resist this, why I don't want to do this right now, but I must tell you I very much want to do this now that I prepared, is 2 reasons. Number one, it just feels arrogant. It feels braggadocious. I don't want to tell my story. You won't find this story anywhere. And number 2 is I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher at heart. I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you. I want to hear your problems, and I want to solve your problems. The hell we got to sit around talking about mine? But she convinced me, and supposedly this is valuable. Here's the good news. If this is a disaster, it's all Kelly's fault. I mean, you know how freeing that is? That is so freeing. So I am going to let it fly. And I don't know half of what's going to come out of my mouth. But what's important to understand is a little context. The reason we have a client stand up here and share their story is so you can see how they run their business. Very important word. EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, is a way to run your business. What we specialize in here is helping people run their business and get everything they want from their business. It's not about the latest marketing gimmick or sales technique or technology. Oh, I hope I make this point. I hope you get this clearly. That stuff all comes and goes. But the way you run the business and orchestrate your human energy, whoa, it never changes. And we want you to see it up here. Every year, a new client showing you their story, how they do it, so that hopefully you can see yourselves in them. And so while this feels really selfish and arrogant and egotistical and braggadocious to do what I'm about to do, I hope you see yourself in me. And I hope you glean some things that will help you run your business better. The running of your business is the underpinning of what goes on. All that other crap is just a whole lot better when you're running your business well. Does that make sense? Because if it makes sense to you, then I know I'm communicating. I'm going to check with you all morning. So now here's what's important. This story I'm about to tell you is a very specific timeline. It's a very specific 10-year period. It was the 10-year period that Don and I started, ran, built, grew, and sold EOS worldwide. We grew at 40% a year for 10 straight years. So, 10-year timeline. This is my 10-year visual timeline here for you today. I'm not going to talk about anything prior to the 10 years. You don't need to know any of that. I'm not going to talk about how I created EOS, turning around the family business, the experience in the past, the failures, all that crazy, messy stuff that led me to creating a product. We're going to start on that date for when Don and I signed our papers to start EOS Worldwide. EOS Worldwide. 2 guys in Michigan. Worldwide. And I'm not going to talk about anything after the day I signed on the dotted line and got a nice big check and let go of the baby I birthed, raised, grew, and married off. I'm not going to talk about any of that. Because the day I sold, I had no involvement in the business at all. I was completely free to go do my next thing. Now, I'm not talking about it because I'm concerned about anything. It's just, it's none of my business. People find this hard to believe, but whether they run it into the ground or let it realize why it was created, que sera. It's on them now. Now, they, for what it's worth, in the last 7 years, have more than 6x'd the company. They have grown at 35% a year for 7 years. Just a little less growth than Don and I. But who's keeping track? Who's keeping track? It's not a contest. Don. So we're not going to talk about anything after that. Now, I'm doing a Q&A breakout after this. So when we're done and we do our 30-minute break and come back, I'm doing a Q&A in this room. So in everything I'm about to share with you, you get to ask anything. Your questions don't have to be in this time frame. It can be anything about anything about anything. I'm an open book. So start writing your questions if you're coming to the Q&A. Walk-ins are welcome. Oh, I want to set this stage. Oh. Running of your business. That's all we're talking about. Marketing, sales, tech, all fads. They come, they go. But the underpinnings. So now, as I'm going to share my story with you, it's really important you understand this context. So when Kelly convinced me, and I can't explain to you how clear it was that I needed to do this, the knowing. 2 to 4 weeks later, I'm on a plane, ironically flying to Maryland to do a talk. And now that I committed to doing this, got on the plane, broke out my legal pad and my pen, and said, what the hell am I going to talk about? And all of a sudden, for 1 straight hour, my pen did not stop, and it flowed out of me like water. It's so clear. I'm hoping I see it so clear in here. I hope I can convey it to you. But what I realized, it's not a story. I'm not going to tell you a bunch of war stories. That isn't going to do anything for you other than make you laugh and find it interesting. What I realized in this story is through this 10-year period, there are these 10 things that went on all 10 years. And if you can understand, it's not going to be this linear story. It's going to be these 10 things, these common threads that make up the story. And then I wrestled with what to call them. What do you call them? Are they habits? Are they disciplines? Are they philosophies? And I had a list of 15 things. And the answer is yes, 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 yes. It's all of those things. But what I decided to call them is obsessions. I realized that they are obsessions. Now, if you look up the definition of the word obsession, it's simply this: focus and commitment. The definition of obsession, this thing I'm talking about, is focus and commitment. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what Don and I focused on and committed to for 10 years. And as I share these 10 obsessions with you, you get to call them whatever you want. You can call them habits because there's a habit expert speaking to you tomorrow that you can bring all this into. He's going to show you how to embody this stuff. So when I teach each obsession, 4 things are going to happen. I'm going to give you the obsession in a word or two. Then I'm going to give you a statement that explains the obsession. And we could stop there if you just do it, but you won't. Then I got to convince you. So then what's going to happen is I'm going to give you 3 bullet points where I'm just going to do a riff. So 1, 2 words, 1 statement, a couple of bullet points so that I can riff. The truth of the matter of the 3 bullet points is they're my guideposts to keep me on track so I don't completely go off the rails because I don't know what's about to come out of my mouth. I am going to be fully me. There might be some profanity in the next hour. But here's the beauty. If you don't like it, it's Kelly's fault. Because she told me to get up there and tell my story and be me. So I'm going to be me. You're going to see the me that was in that organization as visionary for 10 years. And if it offends you, any profanity, that ain't my problem. That's your stuff. That's you judging me. So deal with that. If you don't swear, hallelujah. I swear. Jesus. Wow, that felt good. See, it's already starting. Whew. So I'm going to give you a 1 to 2 word obsession. A statement. 3 bullet points as I riff to guide me so I don't go off the rails. And then I'm going to do my best. Every word, I'm going to tell my story. So when I'm saying inside, Gino, you're just telling your story. You're telling your story. Don't teach, Gino. Don't teach. Tell your story. Don't teach. Because I want to teach you so bad. I want to make you do this. The 4th thing is going to be a question I'm going to ask you on the obsession, and that's where I have to teach. Let me teach. But it's going to be like 30 seconds. And I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm just going to get you to ponder the obsession and how that might show up in your life. But other than that, I'm going to do my best. It's like to stay on this side of the line and just tell my story. Every once I'm going to step over the line. Teachy. I'm trying not to. I have the soul of a teacher. I'll stay over here best I can. I was going to give you permission to call me out for the next hour, but that's not going to go well. So, have I set the stage? Does it make sense? Let me check. Did all that make sense? Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. So here we go. And here is my EOS story. 10 obsessions. Obsession number 1. Operating system. 1 to 2 word obsession. Then a statement. We ran on EOS from day 1. So this obsession is going to be the obvious one for all of you. You all know EOS, but I just want you to hear it from my perspective. So 3 bullet points. The first one is I call EOS pure. I was obsessed that we must be EOS pure because I know what that means. I know it will help us get everything wrong. So I was obsessed. And in that obsession of being EOS pure, that means that every single person in the organization, from the signing of the papers to start the business, from employee number 1 to person number 300 in the organization, there were a little more than 300 when we sold, every single one of those people knew EOS like the back of their hand. We were EOS pure, top to bottom, side to side. That's why I wrote, what the heck is EOS? Because it was a tool for your employees to understand what's going on. Because when they get it, that's when you're going to really get to where you want to go. Because they're carrying 80% of the load for you. You're EOS pure. You might recognize these 2 things, the EOS model and the foundational tools. We were obsessed about them. The EOS model, you might recognize that. Just want to give you my interpretation, my experience. We focused on strengthening those 6 key components every day, all day. We would fill out the organizational checkup constantly to make sure that we're 80% strong or better. Vision component, we are obsessive about making sure that every one of those people, 1 to 300, knew the vision like the back of their hand, and were all bought into the vision. And if they didn't, more on that later. People, we made sure that we had great people top to bottom. More on that in a little bit. Oh, got ahead of myself. Data component, we made sure we had rock solid scorecards, and everyone in the organization, all the way to 300, had a number. Very, very powerful when they all have a number. Issues component, we did not let issues linger. We set them up, knocked them down, solved them. More on that in a bit. You're going to see this common thread through all these obsessions. Process component, we were process fanatics. All of our core processes were documented, simplified, followed by all. And the traction component, rock solid, set and achieving rocks. Everyone had rocks. Great meetings. It's nice when you can listen to me drink. And then the EOS foundational tools. Hopefully I'm not insulting your intelligence, but just my perspective. The VTO. We were fanatical about making sure that everyone bought into the VTO. And we would have these fierce debates. And then here's one of my visionary confessions. About 5 years in, right about here, I tried to change our core values. I came in so convinced that it's time to change the core values. And it was a quarterly meeting. I presented it with passion. And thank God my leadership team fought against me so hard because it was such a mistake. But it was a visionary moment. Some of you might be able to relate. The accountability chart was always evolving. We made sure we had the right people in the right seats, but we always, every 6 months, on that journey, every 6 months, that accountability chart looked different. It just kept evolving and growing and reshaping. So you gotta stay on it, gotta stay on it. That's what we did. Rocks, setting and achieving great rocks, 80% or better every quarter, like clockwork. Incredible meeting pulse. Our level 10s, our core leads, angels, they were passionate, intense, never boring, always rated 10s. Maybe some 9.5s, and a rock-solid scorecard. And I was a fanatic about the scorecard. If there was ever one flaw in that scorecard, I would go cuckoo. The scorecard's got to be perfect. Oh, Gino, we couldn't get that number this week. What the? I don't ever want to hear that again. That's what we run our business on. You get it. You're going to really understand me soon. I'm going to scare the shit out of some of you. And then the third bullet point is the EOS creed. You cannot build a great company on multiple operating systems. You must choose one. So you must cave to one operating system. Now, the EOS creed, which is just a quote of mine that I didn't want to take ownership for in the public outside this room, is a way of saying to the world as a leadership team, and so you're my leadership team for the next hour, you have to cave to one way. And so I was obsessive about making sure that my leadership team caved to one way, one operating system. And a funny client story very quickly talked about, we were about 3 sessions in, and the client says, separate, we are geniuses, talking about each leadership team member. He said, together, we are morons. Because it was 6 different people all trying to do it their own way. It can't work. You must choose one. And so I made sure everybody caved to this way and bought in. So, operating system, we ran on EOS from day one. So here's the question. Here's where I'm going to cross the teaching line. Are you fully committed to running on EOS? Because in this room, we've chosen our operating system. Hopefully you've chosen it, but here's the teaching moment. 72% of you in this room, you have somebody on your leadership team that has not caved. They don't believe in EOS. They are holding you back. You will not realize your vision. You will not get what you want from your business. So back to this side of the line. When I see that, I confront it. And if they don't cave, they're gone. Consider that. But ponder, that question. Are you fully committed to running an EOS? Now, some of you are going, God, he's kind of a prick. I love it. Number 2, obsession number 2, know thyself. Oops, sorry. Know thyself. Statement. I knew exactly who I was. I knew exactly who I was. I did so much work on myself. I knew my strengths and weaknesses. I knew my personality and traits. I knew all the screwed up stuff about me from my childhood. I knew all of my craziness and all the great things. And so I was fully me, which includes setting boundaries. So when Don and I joined forces, I stayed in my sweet spot. When Don and I joined forces, I made it very clear. Here's what you're about to get yourself into. Here's what I have to give you. I had a limited amount of time, about 25% of my working time to devote to EOS Worldwide as the visionary, because the other 75%, I was a full-time EOS implementer and writing books. Don't get too caught up in that, but every visionary in this room, you have a time capacity. Mine was that, and Don was agreeable to move forward with that boundary. But then other boundaries. And Don, I'm not going to go out there and promote. I'm not going to go do 100 speaking engagements. I'm not going to do social media. I'm not going to be the guy. I don't want to be the guy. I'm a mad scientist. Leave me in the lab. But what I will do, Don, is I will create a vision. I will protect that vision. I will hold that vision. I will drive that vision. I will train every single EOS implementer in this company. I will teach the boot camps. I will run the quarterly QCEs. I will coach them all. Second bullet point. The visionary integrator duo was everything. Because now I'm clear. I know who I am. Now that's my puzzle piece. Hopefully you all know what that means. I then had to go out and find my matching puzzle piece, which was Don, somebody who could work with this ball of energy. And that's the magic formula. And so those were my boundaries, my strengths and weaknesses, what I will and won't do. Then there's all this stuff to do to make the vision a reality. I did only the stuff I agreed to do, and then I delegated and elevated everything else to Don, and he got to do everything else. But now watch this. So it's the Don and Gino show, just the two of us. Hopefully this makes sense. So as we went forward, we were also obsessed about living by the 5 rules. Hopefully you all know those, all of you visionary integrators. Read Rocket Fuel. 5 rules. Stay on the same page. Don and I did a same page meeting every month for 10 years. Technically 8 because I replaced myself in year 8. No end runs. We didn't do any end runs. We didn't allow any end runs. The integrator's a tiebreaker. Don broke the ties. We would fight like hell, but he broke the tie. We were employees when we were in the business. We played by all the rules we expected everybody else to play by, and we maintained mutual respect as much as we duked it out. And so please understand, when I talk about fighting, because you're going to hear me say that a lot, that's just me and how I talk. That's my analogy. For what it's worth, leave me alone. They're my words. You get yours, I get mine. And so I'm a high D. I'm a 98 D on distance. So I'm a pretty intense, driven person. And so is Don. And so when Don and I have a disagreement, it's pretty heated. And it's so much fun. But you low Ds, when you have disagreement, it's like, hey, I don't agree with you. Okay, I'm sorry for doing that. I'll fix it later. Don and I, it's a little more charged than that. And I'm certainly a lot more charged than Don. But hopefully this makes sense. Oh, I hope this makes sense. I'm going to check with you in a minute. So, know thyself. That's what we're talking about. Whole bunch of stuff to get done to make this vision a reality. I grabbed all the stuff that was mine within my capacity, pushed everything else to Don. Then Don took everything that was left. Same thing. He knew who he was. He grabbed all his stuff and pushed everything down. And then watch this. We built a strong leadership team. So as we went along, Don couldn't do it all, so we hired one of those, and then one of those, and then one of those, and then one of those, as more and more and more kept coming. I'm not going to do any more. If the company triples in size, that doesn't mean I'm going to do triple the work. And some of you are doing triple the work. Delegate and elevate, delegate and elevate. So I protected my boundaries. Don protected his boundaries. Don devoted 60% of his time as integrator. So we were part-time visionary integrator. We were fractional visionary integrator because we could do that as a small company until we replaced ourselves. Then about 5 years in, it's going great, we're growing, I realized it's time for me to replace myself. And so Don and I put in place a 5-year succession plan. First to replace me in 3 years, and then Don in the next 2 years. I went out and I found my candidates, narrowed it down to one, replaced myself right about here. Don then found Kelly, replaced himself right about here. In the last 2 years of that journey, it was then the Peyton and Kelly show, Visionary Integrator. But the point here is we built a strong, we're obsessed about the best people for what we were doing. All that stuff, me, pass it down, Don, then to Kelly, build a leadership team, and then all of a sudden the company grows. Did that make sense? Oh, good. You got to know yourself. And then here we go, teaching moment. Do you know who you are? You got to understand at this point, you can't pull anything over on me. Worked with 136 companies over the last 22 years, 2,100 sessions. I watched the visionaries, the shapeshifters. It's so exhausting. You're a different person for everybody. You don't know your boundaries. You're killing yourself. And I was fortunate enough here to have experienced all that, to say, no. I'm not going to end up like one of those. And then from you, so go you, so go them. You got to be the example. Did that make sense? Oh, good. Am I the only one having fun? Number 3, passion. Statement. I knew my passion. Passion is everything. Passion is everything. Everything. I believe with every ounce of my being that you can build a company on your passion. There are people walking the earth that don't believe that. And it's most of them. I was doing a podcast. And in preparation for the podcast, I always like to listen to about 5 minutes of one of their previous episodes to just get a flavor of the podcast. And I listened to this perfect 5 minutes where this podcast host that I'm about to spend an hour with, I hear him say, passion is bullshit. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. Anyway, I won that debate in case anybody's curious how that one went. So, 3 bullet points. Keep me on track. My passion is to help people get everything they want from their business. I exist to help you get everything you want from your business. It's why I walk the earth. It is my calling. It's why I'm here. And then what we did is we went out. Once I knew it, I found a guy, Don, that was as passionate about the same thing. And then employee number 3 was passionate about the exact same thing. And then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 300 plus. And anyone that wasn't, might sound cold. You want to build a great company? Or don't you? Tough decisions. Because if you understand or hear another thread, it's all about greatness. Do you want to be great? Why would you exist on this planet for any other reason? To fully realize, to truly become and maximize who you are here to be, both you and your company. Why would you do anything else? It takes just as much work. So we found a bunch of people that were as passionate as we were, down to the last person. Everyone was as passionate as we were. I would urge you, as I did myself, to get in touch with that pain of why. I would constantly recheck myself, because the two biggest data points for me, not going to talk about before, unless it makes a point for now. So I would call back on the two main things that would be my passion checkup. Get in touch with the pain of why, because your passion typically stems from some pain from the past. And so two things. I took over a family business, did a turnaround. And so I saw the pain that my dad was in running his business, and I was able to solve that pain. You can't beat that out of me. And then in my EO forum in my 20s, with my other 11 forum members, and watching the pain that they were in. And so I'll share with you the spark for EOS, why EOS exists. It was in that EO forum. Here comes the first serious profanity, but I'm merely quoting someone, quoting myself. So in that forum, it was about a year to 2 years in, looking around that room at those 11 entrepreneurs, and I had a light bulb moment. And I said, these guys are as fucked up as I am. See, I thought I was the only one that was struggling. They were all struggling, and that's when I had a light bulb moment, and I said, opportunity, because I knew I could help them. That was the spark. And then number 3, there's an exercise that I learned that helped me greatly. It's called 3 questions. You might want to jot them down. Question number 1, what are your 3 greatest successes? You do this in a coffee shop for an hour. It's very powerful. What are your 3 greatest successes? What are your 3 greatest failures? And then the magic question number 3 is, what has life prepared you for? And it was a light bulb moment. It's like, that's what I'm spending the rest of my life doing. And then here's a teaching moment. Do you truly know what you are passionate about? Do you truly know what you're passionate about? Because your job is to make sure it's so clear that you exude it every minute of every day with your people, and that every single person in your organization is that passionate. If you want to be great. I'm just being me. Obsession number 4, soul. We protected the soul. Statement. Our core values and core focus were non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. I don't know if you knew this, but core values plus core focus equals soul. When your core values are so clear and everyone's living them, and your core focus is so clear, and you're making all decisions around it, and you're aligned with that core focus, your organization has a soul. And if it's not, your organization is soulless. So, for what it's worth, core values, core focus, here are ours. If you're curious, we're quite proud of them. We live by them, we love them. Humbly confident, grow or die, help first, do the right thing, do what you say. Core focus. Our cause, we use the word cause, purpose, passion, cause. We used cause in those 10 years. Helping people get what they want from their business, we already covered that. And then our niche is helping entrepreneurial leadership team gain traction. We're all about traction. We will get you, entrepreneurial leadership team, everything you want from your business faster than anyone or anything on the planet. Convinced of it. And that's what we focused on. And so, but what I'm saying here is you got to protect the soul of your company, because here's what happened. So here's what happened. I started to cross the line. Did you see that? Did you feel that? And I'm coming back over here. My experience. Very tough conversations protecting our core values. And 2 very specific ones I want to share. One is, again, Right around year 5, Don and I put in place a succession plan, replaced myself as visionary, identified all my candidates, whittled it down to one, and there was one issue with this person, and I'm just going to use a fake name to protect the innocent, but Mike Payton. And I said, Payton, you have everything it takes to succeed me. And he wanted it bad. I said, other than one thing, you're not humbly confident. And that's going to be the deal killer. Because if you can't fix that, you can't be the visionary. So he was always just kind of arrogant. He came from the banking industry. Sorry, those bankers out there. So I had to do an exorcism and remove surgically the arrogance from him. And so for a year, I worked with him, coached. He worked hard on himself. Because that man has a heart of gold, and I knew it was in there, and it came out. And he became a very humbly confident person. Another example was one of our top implementers. This was right about here. Was a little weak in about 2 or 3. And this would have been a very high profile removing from the community because Don and I proudly removed people from the community. And I met him in Chicago. And I said to this implementer, you're a rock star, but you're not living our core values. And this is the strike one conversation. Here's 3 data points for each core value you're not exhibiting. And if you don't solve this, we're going to remove you from the community. Literally that clear. More on that in just a bit. Core focus, we protected it. So imagine the waves crashing against a rock. That's what you have to be. Because protecting your core focus, there are going to be so many ideas coming at you. Hey, Gino, why don't we do this? Hey, how about this? How about we get into marketing? How about we buy a sales company and fucking bolt that onto the thing? How about we do this? How about we do that? How about we do this? So I was this rock crashing against the shores. No, we got to stay true. And some of you aren't tough enough to do that. You got to protect your core focus. You got to protect your core values because that's the soul of your company. And when your soul is that strong, hiring is not a problem. They will come calling. And the third bullet point, Jim Collins, the thought leader I have a man crush on, who's made a huge impact on my life with his teachings, has a term he calls preserve the core, stimulate progress. This is it in a nutshell. This is so powerful if you get this. So picture the VTO. Preserve the core values, core focus. That's the core. You got to preserve that. And then stimulate progress, the other 6 sections of the VTO, and that's where you execute the plan. Question, cross the line. Are you protecting the soul of your company? Number 5, consistency. We did the same thing every day, every week, every month, every quarter for 10 years. The same thing over and over and over and over. And so some of you think that's boring. Not going to be great. I call it patience. I'm a very patient man. So we were very consistent, which means here's the 3 legs of the stool, we call it. Here's the whole EOS worldwide strategy if you want to see it. This is it right here. This is how Don and I built what we built. 40% growth, 10 years. That's the strategy. At the center of that model you see is EOS, our product or service to bring to the world. And then 3 legs of the stool. A great book, great implementers, EOS eyes, EOS implementers, and a strong web platform. And it evolved certainly over time because then it became books, lots of implementers, and the web platform kept growing and becoming more robust. Our Basecamp, our software. And so, but the strategy was every day, every week, every month, every quarter for 10 years was focused on nothing but how do we get more books out into the world? How do we find more of the right implementers? And how do we build an amazing platform that is so sticky and powerful, they can't leave it? Because then play the model out. You see the arrows, right? See the arrows. The more books we get in the marketplace, we're going to get more people to the web platform, and we're going to get more implementers. More implementers, we're going to sell more books. We're going to get more to the platform. The better the robust platform, we're going to sell more books. We're going to get more. And that was it. And that's all we talked about for 10 years. Target market focus. Obsessed. Our target market is privately held 10 to 250 person companies that are entrepreneurial, open-minded, willing to be vulnerable, open and honest. 10,000 times people tried to get me to change it. Gino, what about nonprofits? Gino, what about a 3-person company? Gino, what about a 1,000-person company? Same answer. Our target market is privately held. Publishing, every book I published, the publishers would try to get me to change that. Don't do that, it's too narrow. You're hurting book sales. If you broaden that, no. I was obsessive because what I know is that's what EOS is designed for. Now, with that said, that just means that 80% of our clients need to be there, and that's what it was. For me, it was as an implementer, and for the people in this room. 10% are smaller, 10% are larger, but they go in knowing that's the target market, and we protect it with our life, and we repeat it over and over and over, because by me being that much of a prick about it here, and saying it 10,000 times from here to here, this is a better room of people because you're all target market clients. And it would be less. It would be a little squishier. It'd be a little weaker. It'd be a little less potent if we bent on that. Can't wait to get to the question. And then our SMAC recipe. I'm going to do this fast. But Jim Collins teaches a concept called SMAC. S-M-A-C are the letters. Specific, methodical, consistent. And so very quickly, here's ours. If you want to take a picture of it, you don't really need to, but what this is all about is what are the non-negotiables, the questions I had to answer 1,000 times, the ideas that came at me. So going down the list, no, we're a training company. But Gino, what about this? No, we're a training company. We're a relationship-based company. Hey, Gino, how about we buy a cold list of leads and just blast that? No, we're a relationship-based company. Gino, why didn't you call me back in 15 minutes? Or somebody doesn't call back in 2 days. We respond in 24 hours, but never 15 minutes. We will always maintain an 8.75 rating. The day it's less, we're going out of business. We will maintain a 50% profit margin, and we'll always remain abundance-minded. When we see scarcity, we root it out. Question for you, are you consistent? Are you ready, willing, and able for the next 10 years to do the same thing every day, every week, every month, every quarter for the next 10 years? Number 6, long-range thinking. I thought in 10-year time frames. Oh, if I can convey this. Every decision was a 10-year decision, even the little stuff. I created EOS to last 100 years. So 10-year thinking is thinking in multi-decade terms. Long-range thinking. I created EOS to last 100 years. So far, it has lasted 22 years. Whether it makes it 100 or not, who knows? But what I know is it will last longer because I created it with that mindset than if I hadn't. Another example is when somebody comes to you with an idea and we're sitting here with 10 implementers on our way to 300. And somebody says, hey, how about we go and have dinner with them in their home every month? Hypothetical example. My mind goes to, how are we going to manage that with 300 10 years from now? Every single idea, decision. How are we going to do that? How are we going to do that with 200? How are we going to do that? 10-year thinking. So that's 10-year thinking. Another way of saying this, we say this over and over and over, is greater good long term. What's the best decision for the greater good long term? If you want the definition of greater good long term, see your VTO, assuming you're all on the same page with it. And then one of my favorite quotes from my business mentor, do you want to do what's best for the company, or do you just want to do what you want to do? And this roots out evil. And I'm not saying evil like in a really evil, but the kind of evil that will not make you great. Because if there's anybody in your business that are doing things because that's the way they want to do it, just because they want to do it that way, and with all due love and respect, most of the time it's the visionary. You're never going to be great. So you got every decision, every action, everything has to be in alignment with the long-term greater good of the company, i.e. VTO. Here's the question. are all of your decisions for the long-term greater good. So think about last week's level 10 and that issue you solved, and you put a Band-Aid on that frickin' thing. It's going to blow up in a month. But if you would have said, how do we make this go away forever? Number 7, open and honest. If I leave the world with anything, this is it. Open and honest. And we bake this, I embedded it in EOS so it can never go away. Every session we ever do with you, our expectation is that you're open and honest. Because what I know is, if the world were open and honest, it would be a better place. But at a minimum, if everybody in your organization was open and honest. And so in our organization, we obsessed about open and honest. It's non-negotiable. You got to open yourself up to accept any criticism. Have at me. And you got to be honest. So for instance, here's an open and honest exchange. Hey, Gino, can you stop saying the F word? No. But thank you for sharing that. Thank you for listening to me, Gino. So there's one exchange. I was open. They were honest. But the idea here, watch this. The statement is we didn't allow any dysfunction, because the root of all dysfunction in an organization is a lack of being open and honest. If everybody's not like, have at me, tell me my warts, half will change, half won't. And I'm always going to be honest with you. All dysfunction disappears. And so one of my clients calls it same pageness. And so it's like a checkup on us. Are we all on the same page? Are we all on the same page? Are we all on the same page? And when we're not, we just hit that. You can feel it in a level 10 and a quarterly throughout the day. When we're not feeling it, you have an obligation to say it. Hey, I'm like feeling like we're off. Something's off right now with us right now. What is that? And you got to be honest, or I'm sorry, you got to be open to receive that. And most of the time, my perception is completely wrong. So you're going to say, thank you for sharing that. But no, that's not. I just have constipation, and it's a tough day for me right now. Thank you for sharing. So I texted a handful of people that were on the leadership team during the 10-year run. And I said, I'm about to do my talk at the conference. Do me a favor. Tell me the 3 greatest traits about me during our experience, just so I have some fodder to work with. And Mike Payton, the visionary who succeeded me, gave his 3, but this one I just loved. This one, oh, what's the word? It warmed the cockles of my heart. If only I knew what a cockle is, but it was warm. And the bullet point just said, you were ruthlessly and lovingly honest. When I'm open and honest with you, it is going to come from so much love, because I want you to be great. And I want to be great. So send it back with love. But I was ruthlessly and lovingly honest. Oh, let me actually back this up. I don't want you to see that, and you already saw it. I got to tell a little mini story here. So, Kathy and I were having Thai food. And my highlight of the Thai food at the end is to have my amazing dessert that is a fortune cookie. I love reading the fortunes. And so this was the fortune on this one. And this was like a month ago. Perfect timing. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Imagine every single person in your organization telling the truth. So now I'm going to jump to the teaching moment, because I want to punch you in the face a little bit on this one. Fighting terms, nothing personal. Used to be a fighter. All comes from love, though. Are you allowing dysfunction? So if everyone in your organization told the truth, you'd root out all dysfunction. Here we go. Because it's typically the visionary on this one too. You won't let them be honest. You won't let them be honest because you freak out. You got to be open. And then they'll be open. Then you could be honest. So I let them punch me in the face. I get to punch them in the face. Don and I punched each other in the face an awful lot. And man, was it fun. Number 8, resolution. We were fanatics about resolution. Here's the statement. So, Kelly, is this going the way you had hoped? Oh, no, she said no. So actually, we're going to back up. I'm going to start over. I'm just kidding. We obsessed about tidy bows. So I wrestled with this statement, back and forth, back and forth. And if I could change the PowerPoint this morning, which I couldn't, we were fanatical about resolution, fanatical. And we obsessed about tidy bows, which I'm going to explain in just a minute. So Don Tinney, I texted him as well, and he gave me his 3. And one of his 3, he said, Gino, you were obsessed with resolving any unresolved issue or matter. You were obsessed about alignment and being on the same page. I was obsessed. Second bullet point, tidy bow, tidy bow. Another nice thing I'd like to leave to the world, tidy bow. Tidy bow means when you're solving an issue, you got to put a tidy bow on it. And so in every meeting, level 10s, quarterlies, annuals, any interaction, I made sure there was a tidy bow on every single conclusion. So I have this radar. We all have this radar. You're just not being open and honest. But at the end of it, IDS, IDS, IDS. Does anybody not know what that is? There's a breakout for it if you don't. You're not S-ing the S. You're not S-ing the S. Now, I'm calling myself out on this. When I would see it, I always S the S. And I S the S with all my clients. But the point is you IDS, and most teams, my mediocre team here, who's going to be great if they will just do everything I'm telling them right now. Oh, sorry, teaching line. Let me go over here. At the end of IDS, we solve it, we capture a to-do. This I've only seen 4,682 times, so I don't have a lot of data to give you on this one. But it's like we solved it, we grabbed a to-do, and everybody's kind of like relieved to move on to the next one. But you got one person resisting it, and you got one person that doesn't even understand what we just agreed to. And I see it so clear. And I know the train that's about to go into a wreck if we don't say, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not agreeing. What is this? Can you live with it? Can you live with the decision? Well, blah, 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 and you reopen it. And everybody's like, oh, come on, we're in a level 10. We're trying to get through issues. I'm about to solve your biggest problem right now that's going to blow up on you. You got to be more patient. Because when there isn't the sweet sound of agreement, you must hit that. Because some of you have like 30 of those in your company right now, 30 unresolved things that you thought were resolved and somebody grabbed a half-ass to do and barely did that. So what's going on? Can you live with it? You can't. Let me, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, you need to make sure you can live with it if it's the right decision. But he might convince us otherwise because he might be right. Kind of rare, but it happens. But I got to make sure he's all in. And just for the record, if he's not all in on this one, and not all in on this one, not all in on this one, not all in on this one, la, 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 he doesn't belong here. But you can be not all in on this one and that. That's what a great team does. But if he's not all in on all of them, I got the wrong person in the wrong seat. And then the person that didn't understand, who's going, you say, it seems like you don't understand what we just decided. Or I can read it. I say, can you just tell me what we decided on just to make sure I know you got it? Oh, blah, 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 blah. Tidy bow, tidy bow, tidy bow. Now, with really big, tough, scary decisions, and they happen. A discipline I like to teach is where you just simply take yourself to the worst case scenario. So what will happen is you're trying to S the S on a really tough issue. You need to be fanatical about resolution, but it's really scary. Just take yourself to the worst case scenario. And I want to give 2 examples. Don and I, a year and a half in, the business model was not working. We were not making any money. The business was going out of business. EOS was almost over and gone on that day. So I took myself to the worst case scenario. And it's like, all right, and Don and I talked about it. So what if you can't build a business like this? And Peyton was very much involved at that point in time. He was our best EOS implementer. And we had this funny saying where we talked about how we just stay home in our underwear and just do base camp and not have to leave the house. So that was our joking backup plan. So if the whole thing goes under, worst case, we'll be implementers and we'll build this amazing base camp. We had a plan B. And then the second one is, when we had about 100 implementers, we had 15 rogue implementers called honey badgers. They called themselves the honey badgers. And these were our 15 best. They were probably in the top 25. And there was a mass exodus about to happen. And so that would have stung in a really big way. But Don and I, we decided, what's the worst thing that happens? They go, they go. It's not worth keeping them if they're going to keep acting like this. And so we found strength in that. We confronted the issue, and it's amazing. They just miraculously turned, you frickin' honey badgers. I'm staring at 3 now, but here's the amazing thing. Those 15 honey badgers, one of them is now the visionary of EOS Worldwide, Mark O'Donnell. One of them headed up all of the implementers for years. They became the best in the community. That friction created a diamond. But we took ourselves to the worst case scenario so we knew we could endure this terrifying thing. And then the last thing I would suggest is something I call putting a stake in the ground. When it's really big and scary and you have some time, put a stake in the ground. So with the business model change, we were going out of business. I said, all right, if I don't, in 30 days, I'm going to come up with a new solution. Went to a Starbucks, read a few powerful books, and completely changed our business model. Got in the car, called Don and said, Don, I'm about to turn our business on its ear. And I just completely changed the way we do business, and poof, it took off from there. Teaching moment, are you fanatical about resolution? Number 9, value. I obsessed about value. I'll take all the responsibility for this one. And certainly others did. But I was a fanatic about making sure the experience that the client has is second to none. Value, value, value. Because when you provide incredible value, they'll never leave you. And you'll beat all of your competition. Never thought about competition once in my 10-year reign. Competition is irrelevant to me. I'm competing with myself to keep making this thing better and better and better and better every day. Statement, I obsessed about the product being perfect for the client. Bullet points, vision, traction, healthy, vision, traction, healthy. Those were our 3 uniques. We were obsessed about our 3 uniques. Everyone could recite the 3 uniques, vision, traction, healthy, vision, traction, healthy. In our quarterly meetings with the implementers, every other one, we had them stand up in groups of 3, and they had to deliver vision, traction, healthy. Our elevator pitch, so that everyone in the company delivered it the exact same way, because that's the value we offer the world. Nobody will get you clear on your vision, gain you traction, and get you healthy faster than we can. Number 2, client feedback. Obsessed about client feedback. Rating every session to make sure we're hitting an 8.75 or better. Really needs to be 9 or better, which it is. We average about 9.2 collectively as 850 implementers. Back then, same thing. And then number 3, the EOS process. I was fanatical about the EOS process. When we take you through that process, starting with the vision, traction, healthy call, to the 90-minute meeting, to the focus day, the VB1, VB2, quarterlies, annuals, everything we teach, when we teach it, the tools we teach, how we teach it, perfect. I focus on making every second of that process so that you get the best, fastest result, faster than anyone else on the planet. I figured out how to get the maximum result in the least amount of time. Here's the question. Is your product or service incredibly valuable to your customers and clients? And obsession number 10. Now, this is the first time I'm going to go to my notes because I woke up this morning and changed the way I want to teach this to you. Because the reality is there were like 9 obsessions. And then Kelly, Gino, you got to tell them how you sold. You got to tell them how you sold. It's so unique. It's so rare. You got to tell them how you sold. And I don't want to tell you how I sold because here's the truth. Sold on this day, 7 years later, which is where we are today, they've 6X'd the company, grew at a meager 35%, not quite 40, but 30, if I have not covered that yet. Kidding. By every imaginable metric, that sale was successful. But my neuroses won't allow me to celebrate it. And it's like, I wrestled this morning with, so what, if it stays in business for 99 more years and then goes out of business, was that a failure sell? And I still kind of feel like it is. So these are my neuroses, okay? But by every metric, the reality is I think I'm finally comfortable to talk about what I did because I really do think I sold well and I sold very unique. And the other thing is, 4 years ago, every investor was offered 3 times their money. So an incredible return on their investment. So that day I was free because everyone got a return on their investment if they took the money. Most didn't, which is probably smart because it's probably worth 6 times as much now. I don't know. Here goes. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to share the 3 bullet points that I was going to share with you. So the statement is, I knew when it was time to sell. The bullet points are 3 criteria: right buyer, right opportunity, right price, 5-year runway, my 8 reasons. Want you to see those, but I'm going to work from this, and I'm going to share it pretty fast because I'm trying to plant a seed. Because here's the truth of what's about to happen in the next 10 years. For probably most of you, your business is going to transition. It's going to. And I told Kelly, I said, Kelly, I don't want to talk about this at the conference because we're going to scare the hell out of all the leadership team members that don't have ownership. And she said, Gino, you have to. She said, Gino, scare them. See, what I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt is it's an opportunity for every single one of you. And you got to talk about this stuff. I'm just going to share with you how I did it. So you're going to transition your business in the next 10 years, most of you, in 4 ways. One of 4 ways. You're going to go out of business, sadly. You're going to transfer the business to your kids. You're going to transfer the business to some outside buyer. Or you're going to transfer the business to your employees, which I hope we see a lot more of that. So it's coming. So I have an obligation, and I'm okay talking about this sale now. What I did first is I read a book called Finish Big. I'd urge you to do that. Whether you do or not, what's interesting, though, is this whole thing I'm about to share with you is all about finishing big. I want you to finish big. Now, these are going to move fast because I'm trying to convey a philosophy. Get your gears turning. So the next thing is I knew what I was going to do after the sale. I've watched so many of my clients not know what they're going to do after the sale. I have the luxury now of seeing 30% of my clients sell in the last 22 years. And most are depressed because their baby's gone and they have no purpose. And they don't know what they're going to do afterwards. You got to know what you're going to do afterwards. And you got to decide, do you want to stay involved in the business or don't you? Because most, like 90%, you're forced to because you didn't build a team and a self-managed company, as Dan Sullivan would call it, like Don and I did. So the day it was time to sell, it was running on its own. I sat in the owner's box. I got to just walk away from it. Most, you're so mired in it, when they buy you, you got to stay involved for 3 years and work for somebody as an employee. Some of my clients love it. Some of them hate it. You just got to decide for you. Is this okay, Kelly? So you got to decide if you want to stay involved. I urge you to give yourself a 5-year runway. That's why I'm saying in 10 years, 5-year runway. Don and I did a 5-year runway. So again, right about here, we used to just put a succession plan to replace ourselves and have a self-managed company by here. I wasn't intending to sell. This is where I was a little ignorant. I already sold one company in the past, but I didn't want to sell EOS Worldwide. But then I realized it was the right thing to do. Give yourself 5-year runway. There's a great vendor here or a sponsor here. It's called Step by Step Exit. Lots of great companies out there. I'm not promoting them for any one reason, but they have this great thing they call 101 rocks to maximize your value. So it's literally 101 rocks you'll take on over a 5-year period to maximize your value. Kind of a cool concept. But the reason I'm sharing that is that's what I'm saying, 5-year runway. Start to think about who you're going to transfer it to. What it's going to look like. Do you want to be involved? It's all in the accountability chart. Here's what I did that shocked the world. Is the day I decided I was going to sell, I told everybody in the company. Every expert and professional will tell you, do not do that. Hide it from them. Keep them in the dark. And then surprise the shit out of them on the day you sell. And they're going to realize they've been lied to for the last year. Now, with that said, I had the luxury of a very open and honest organization. So open and honest that I could say, hey, I'm selling. Now, it was the presentation of my life. Biggest presentation was when I changed the business model. Second biggest was when I had to tell 180 people I'm selling the company. And I gave them my 8 reasons for why I'm selling, and they got it. And they were supportive, and they were excited. And incidentally, I did something else very unique. I gave them all an opportunity to invest in the business, in the sale, and 30 of them did. I defined my ideal buyer. I created this document with 15 bullet points. And as we went through all of our suitors, they had to sit and listen to me preach that to them. And if you ain't this, you ain't the right buyer. The 3 criteria you see up there, I boiled it down to what I realized for this deal, there's 3 criteria. Number 1, they got to be the right buyer. That was that document. Number 2, it's got to be the right opportunity for Peyton and Kelly. So they had to want to keep Peyton and Kelly. And number 3, it had to be the right price. And by the way, those things all get balanced because I sold to the 3rd highest bidder. I didn't sell for the highest or the 2nd highest because the 3rd one I knew was the right buyer for us and it was the right opportunity for Peyton and Kelly. I urge you to run EOS Pure, so we ran EOS Pure. And it sounds scientific. When you run EOS Pure, your company is worth more. You can't deny it anymore. Private equity is looking for companies running on EOS. You're going to be more valuable. And then this came to me for you, whoever you are. Those 9 obsessions I shared, if you just don't have it in you anymore to do that, that's okay, because I didn't. I just wanted to go back to being an EOS implementer and create a whole bunch of new stuff. Life has been heaven for the last 7 years. But if you don't have it in you anymore, the energy, the chutzpah, it might be time to sell. I gave veto power to Don, Peyton, and Kelly. My partner, my visionary, my integrator. And I said, at any point, if you think this is the wrong deal, you get to kill it. That's crazy stuff right there. But it kept me honest, kept me sharp. When we found our right buyer and went through the process, I had us hold these weekly meetings every week, every Saturday morning, because I wanted to avoid all this crazy due diligence crap that drags on for twice as long. We closed that deal fast. Attorney fees were less because we'd have them on the calls. And the last thing I would say to you is just talk to experts. I went out, when I decided to do this, I talked to experts. I found every expert I could. A great investment banker, Scott Eisenberg, who happens to be in this room today, a great tax attorney, and a great deal attorney. Go talk to experts. And then I talked to a bunch of deal people that taught me how to do a deal, and that was really powerful. So my closing question on that one, and then I'm going to bring us into the home stretch. Do you know when it's time to sell? Please start thinking about this. This topic was, it gave me the heebie-jeebies. I'm still having heebie-jeebies a little bit sharing with you because, again, I'm a little nervous it's going to scare some leadership team members. If it does, it's Kelly's fault. But you got to be talking about this stuff, and it's a great opportunity. And I hope more and more and more people start selling to their employees. I think that's a beautiful opportunity in the world right now. And I close with 3 things. Number 1, everything I just told you and everything I did it. Sorry, let me do this first. What I want to do in one slide is give you all 10 obsessions. So if you want to take a picture of this slide, you can. I'm taking it down in like 15 seconds. So if you want to see them all at a glance. That's number 1. That's the fast one. Number 2, everything I just told you I did it living my EOS life. If you're not living your EOS life, it's because you haven't fully implemented EOS in your business and you're not running EOS pure. I, for 10 years, did what I love with people I love, making a huge difference, being compensated appropriately, with time to pursue other passions. If you're not doing this, please read EOS Life to expedite it. And the third thing, I lived by the 10 disciplines. I introduced these 5 years ago at the conference. I've now put these 10 disciplines in 3 of my books. Very quickly, these 10 disciplines embedded in your life will maximize your energy and manage your energy to become the best version of yourself, outer world and inner world. Very quickly, they are 10-year thinking, take time off, know thyself, be still, know your 100%, say no often, don't do $25 an hour work, prepare every night, put everything in one place. I want you to take a picture of this slide if you want it. And you'll see some of these were in the obsessions. This is to manage your energy. I put these in 3 books, Entrepreneurial Leap, EOS Life, and my new book, Shine, with Rob Dubay. I urge you to go read one of those books. I urge you to implement these in your life. Many of you have. Some of you haven't. But we have a little blessing here today because at 2:30, Rob Dubay, my co-author and partner, is doing a breakout on these. And so if you really want to embed these or brush up on them, go to his breakout. And another little bonus is on April 14th, we're launching our next 10 Disciplines group coaching program, which you go through with cohorts and really embed them in your life. So if you're interested in that, go to the10disciplines.com. April 14th is the next program. And then the last thing I'll share, with everything that I said, if I could only pick one thread that ran through all of this for these 10 years, it was this. That it was built on love. We built it on love. I love EOS. I loved my leadership team. I love our clients. I love you. I loved our implementers. The leadership team loved EOS, loved the company, loved our clients, loved our implementers. Love, love, love. What I've learned is that I'm just a cushy love ball. And if you would have told me that 5 years ago, whoa, it would have been ugly. But I'm just a cushy love ball. Love ran through everything. Love, love, love. So the 10 years were so freaking hard. What you're about to do in the next 10 years is so freaking hard. I can't tell you how many times I was scared, how many times I was insecure, every time I would go into one of those tough conversations, terrified, every one of them. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was the most incredible experience. And so with that, thank you for letting me tell you my story, and I love you.